Like many Doctor Who fans, I completely hated Series 9. Sure, there was the masterpiece that was Heaven Sent, and the pretty good two-parter by Toby Whithouse. However, Series 9 on the whole was rubbish. Calling it flawed would be an understatement. Series 9 was so inconceivably awful that it is hard to put it into words. Series 9 left many fans feeling totally disillusioned with the programme. After the catastrophically bad Hell Bent and the predictably underwhelming Christmas special, Doctor Who was in a pretty bad place. A personification of Doctor Who would be an overweight 52-year-old man with a ketchup stain on his vest and spending his time lying like a sack of potatoes on the sofa. Calling yourself a Doctor Who fan at this stage was humiliating, and this wasn't all just from personal experience. This wasn't helped by the announcement of a year-long hiatus with only a Christmas special in 2016. This wasn't exactly a vote of confidence in the programme, especially as the Christmas specials are almost always below average pieces of television. Then, in June 2016, UK comedian Matt Lucas was announced to be returning, not only for that year's Christmas special, but also for the upcoming series, due for broadcast in the spring of 2017. It was at this stage that I wondered how much lower could Doctor Who stoop. In short, my expectations going into Series 10 were rock bottom. Never before had my expectations for any programme been so depressingly low before. You may wonder why I bothered sticking with the show at all. Honestly, I don't know. Possibly because I had a sliver of hope that maybe, the next episode would be great and I wouldn't want to miss out. At this stage, however, it was wishful thinking taken to the extreme. So I found myself genuinely surprised that I enjoyed Series 10. I couldn't believe it. I liked a series of Doctor Who again. But was it due to my low expectations, or was Series 10 genuinely good? We started with The Pilot. When I first read the title, I rolled my eyes. It seemed like a title quickly patched together to act as a semi-soft reboot for the show. However, I was mistaken once I saw the episode. The title ended up referring to an actual pilot. You see, a lot of shows call their first episode Pilot or The Pilot, before using proper titles from the second episode. Here, however, the title not only represents a semi-soft reboot of sorts, but also refers to the story. This may seem like I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel for good things about Series 10, but no, I genuinely like this twist of sorts on an old TV trope. In fact, I find the story to be quite enjoyable. It worked as a refresher. The monster had an interesting personal relationship with a companion, something we don't always see in Doctor Who. Bill, the new companion, was great. Unlike Clara, Bill seemed like a real person. Bill was quick-witted, sure, like most companions these days, but unlike Clara, Bill seems genuinely excited and interested by what's going on, and crucially, asks questions. That, in short, is the role of the companion in their first episode, and generally. The companion is the audience's view into the Doctor's mad and bonkers world. The companion should ask all the questions that members of the audience are thinking, and Bill does this and asks some pretty original questions as well. Comparatively, Clara rarely asks questions, instead she just assumes. That is not the role of the companion. Bill also has a home life, which is briefly touched upon in this episode and later expanded upon it later on down the series. A home life for a companion makes them more interesting. It shows they have or had an existence before meeting the Doctor. Clara's home life in her 3 years on screen are barely featured. You learn more about Bill's backstory in her first episode than you do with Clara in her first series. The Ring's Akaton is great, however, it's an episode entirely made just for Clara's backstory, a backstory that is barely touched upon afterwards. I prefer it when a companion's backstory is woven into each episode more subtly. Even though The Rings of Akaton makes for a great episode, it's the only episode during Clara's 3 years on the show that makes her more interesting. Bill had 1 series and was instantly more likeable and compelling. The next episode is Smile. Smile is a fascinating episode. On the surface, it appears to be a generic Doctor Who runaround in the future. However, if you look a little closer, Smile is actually a deeply detailed analysis on the human condition and our relationships with technology. Yep. But I won't go any further on this episode. But watch this episode if you don't get what I mean. Trust me, this episode is actually a hidden gem. Thin Ice is a proper historical episode. No hopping back and forth between one time zone and another. Like Smile, Thin Ice stays in one time zone and one place. Anyway, the story itself is fantastic. Firstly, Sarah Dollard, the writer, actually wrote a child's death into the script, and it didn't get cut out. This moment adds a great deal of drama to the episode and shakes up the Doctor-companion dynamic when Bill learns that the Doctor's life isn't all perfect and fun. The opening 3 episodes of Series 10 act as a brilliant, but not perfect, but brilliant refresher for the audience. A lot has changed. In fact, Moffat and the production team changed the most they could. They couldn't change the Doctor or the TARDIS exterior-interior design, but they changed the companion lineup and reduced the number of two-parters. In Series 7, the lack of two-parters was a disaster. It led to rushed endings and a lack of breathing room for the characters and the audience. In Series 10, the pacing is a lot better, so the episodes don't seem as rushed. It also means you don't need an encyclopedic knowledge of the show. Now, I'm not going to talk about every episode in Series 10 because that would take forever. A common complaint many people have with Series 10 is the Monk trilogy. Personally, I quite like Extremas. I think it's entertaining, and while it may seem like a typical Moffat story at this stage, I like the twists and turns within the narrative and the subtle clues throughout that not all is what it seems. The remaining 2 episodes of the trilogy are by far the weakest episodes in Series 10. However, The Pyramid at the End of the World has a vaguely interesting premise, and doesn't totally suck. It's pretty average and the title is too long. Then we get to The Lie of the Land. This episode was a colossal disappointment, not because I was interested in the Monk arc or anything, but because the writer, Toby Whithouse, had up until this point written some pretty great episodes. This episode is by far his weakest script, and that's a shame because currently it's his last Doctor Who episode. The episode takes the interesting premise of a dystopian world and wastes precious time, dawdling from one pointless scene to the next, and it's genuinely boring as well. The resolution is weak and appears to have been written in one afternoon. The finale itself is masterful, it really is. For years I had wanted a Cyberman story that was actually really good. I like the Rise of the Cybermen two-parter in Series 2, but here, the Cybermen as a concept are at their most chilling in the entirety of New Who to date. It's clear at this stage that Steve Moffat is really good, he's great, at writing dark, morbid, bleak situations, hence why I really like Heaven Sent. World Enough and Time also made Missy more interesting by making her a clear contrast with the Master. John Simm's return may well have been a cynical attempt to boost ratings, but in this episode, he's great. He may spend the majority of this episode in a disguise as Razor, but his performance is just so captivating all the same, even on multiple viewings. But it's mainly with the Cybermen where this episode really shines. The inclusion of the time dilation drives the entire story firstly, but also makes the Doctor's situation all the more perilous. It adds to the drama whilst also including time and science. The Doctor Falls is not as good, no. But World Enough and Time was so good that I wasn't expecting the same quality to happen again. The Doctor Falls is thankfully not another Hell Bent. The Missy story is resolved in a unique way, but remains consistent to the Master's character. The Doctor Falls is perhaps the perfect episode when it comes to the Doctor's characterisation, standing up for anyone who needs to be stood up for, that kind of thing. And of course, Peter Capaldi excels in the role here, giving us one of his best performances as the Doctor. Stephen did it. For the first time since Series 5, he wrote a finale where both parts were great, though not the exact same level of great. Twice Upon a Time, however, acts as a quick and plotless epilogue of the 12th Doctor's era and comes across as underwhelming, if nothing else. Perhaps a quieter finale was intended, but it still lacks considerable punch. The one scene that works very well, and is the highlight, is the Christmas armistice scene. Genuinely good. Now, Series 10 for me, and quite a number of people, was the best Moffat series since Series 6. Many fans, including myself, had grown frustrated by the consistently mediocre quality of the show. I really liked the first 2 Moffat series and Series 10. I loathed, or at least moderately disliked, Series 7 to 9, so I like half of Moffat's Doctor Who and I hate the other half. Series 10 redeemed Moffat's era mainly because it was his final series. After years of overly complex and poor storylines, Moffat finally got it. Series 10 isn't perfect for me, but it did restore my faith in the programme. It ended the Moffat era on a mostly high note, something I was certainly not expecting. Oh, and I quite like Nardole. If you liked this video and you are interested in what else I do, why not check out my other videos that I've made so far? And if you're really interested, why not click subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a video?